Hello and welcome to Game of Energy Setup and How to Play. This will be a two-part video series. The first video will be the setup, which you can find the link to in the description below. And the second video, which is this video, is how to play Game of Energy. So without further ado, let's get right to it and show you how to play Game of Energy right now. So now we're actually ready to play the game. For every person's turn, you will do three things. 1. Draw a card. 2. Get paid. And 3. Roll the territory die. So let's do those now. For the first step, you're going to draw a grid card. And grid cards allow you to do different things. So there are different types of grid cards. You have things like fact cards, which tell you some sort of fact that has to do with the industries in the game. And when you play these, you immediately get 10 energy credits, which is your currency, symbolized by that symbol. There are other types of cards, like these green cards, which are good for everybody. In this case, it affects all players, up to 10 industries per player, and in this case, it affects every industry, but only on the tundra. And you would get 5 energy credits for each of those up to 10 industries on the tundra. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you have red cards. And with red cards, again, this one, it affects everybody. It's the multiplayer symbol. Up to 10 industries per player. And for every industry in the mountains, you will lose 5 energy credits. And then kind of in between are the orange cards. In this case, this is a single player target card, and you can only target a player that owns, in this case, either biofuel or hydroelectric. And in this case, they would actually give you the 10 energy credits. So you would actually play this card on them, and they would give you 10 of their energy credits. And in this case, it's if they own one of these in any of the territories. There is another type of card. And whenever a card has this little hand symbol, that is a board state effect. It actually keeps, which is the whole hand and card, keeps into effect until another card like this is played that has this symbol, or the game ends. In this case, it affects everybody, all industries, but only the ones on tundra. And if you read the card text, it tells you that for every industry you place in the tundra while this card is active, at the end of your turn, you will get a 10 energy credit rebate for each industry you place there. So that is it for the type of grid cards there are. So like I said, step 1, draw grid cards. Step 2, get paid. Step 3, roll the territory die. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the grid card. Now, once you draw a grid card, you can either play it immediately, or you can keep it and save it for later. You can play as many cards as you want on your turn, if you have more than one, but only on your turn. You can't play a card on someone else's turn. If at the end of your turn you have more than one card, you have to play, not discard, play cards until you get to 0 or 1 cards. So essentially your hand size is 1. In this case, I'm just going to keep this card. Step 2 is I get paid. So how do I know what to get paid? Well, earlier I referenced the environmental track. At the beginning of every round, whatever is on this track, you will get paid. So if I was showing, say, 210 on the environmental track, I would be paid from the bank 210 energy credits. Okay? So, I would get paid that, and then step 3 is I would roll the territory die. And I showed this earlier, but essentially on every single side of this die, there is a representation of the emblems on the board. And so, depending on what you've rolled here, you could permit or place industries onto the board in that area. Let's say that I rolled the mountains emblem. Okay? I could pick, because there's three mountains on the board here. I can pick one of these to permit in for that turn. I can always pick another one in a subsequent turn. But I have to pick one for that turn and stay there for that turn. I can't split industries across zones in the same turn, nor can I later on move industries, even though they're in the mountains. I can't move them to another mountain zone. So as an example, let's say that I did roll mountains. And the first thing I'm going to do after I roll is I'm going to look at my tip cards. And tip cards show you costs and benefits of going into the different territories. And there's little symbols in the upper left here that show you what's on the back side of the card for easy flipping. So in this case, I'm going to look at the mountains tip card, because that is what I rolled. And if you look here, you'll see that, for instance, with biofuel, it would cost me, it's an energy credit symbol with a down arrow, it would cost me 40 energy credits. But if I were to place that biofuel on the board, it would be a 30 benefit on my environmental track, which means every round I'm going to get 30. It would also be a 50 terawatt hour benefit on my victory points track. So let's do that as an example. Let's go ahead and place a biofuel onto the board. I'm going to pick this mountains region this time, because why not? No, I'm going to pick this one. Now, it does not matter where I place this, because these are not plots of land. This just represents a region's ability, a capacity, if you will, to generate so much energy. So I can move this around at any point during the game. Other players can also move this around at any point during the game, as long as I don't actually go outside of the colored boundaries for the zones. So I'm going to place my biofuel. Let's place it right there. I'm going to put my ownership cube on it. This is how people know what industries you have, as well as you know what industries you have, so when you're playing cards, you know who can be targeted. And I'm going to spend my 30. That was actually not my cash. So I'm going to spend my 30. Here's a 50. Get 20 back. No, it's 40. Get 10 back. It's 40 for a biofuel. So then I'm going to look at my second column, which shows that the environmental track benefit is going to be 30, and the victory point benefit is going to be 50. So I've spent my 40. I'm now going to move this up 30 for my environmental track, and then move my terawatt hour track up 50. Whoop, wrong color. Helps if you do the right color. And if I wanted to, I could get more industries. For every turn, you can get up to 5 industries. They do not have to be the same. They can be any combination. The only exception is that you can only get at most 1 nuclear per turn, and or 3 fossil fuel per turn. Of course, you could then buy another industry or 2 to fill up the 5 industry limit. So, 1 nuclear, 3 fossil fuel, and hydroelectric is fine, but 1 nuclear and 4 fossil fuel is not, for instance. Now, every single person will take a turn just like that for every single round. There is one more thing that can happen during a turn, though, and that is that you could roll the investment opportunity on the die. If you roll that on the die, you get to consult the investment deck. Now, there's investment opportunity for new energy technology, and you have the opportunity to invest in it. But like any investment, it's never a sure thing. In this case, you have a 60% chance of getting some type of good card, in which case you'll get a energy credit benefit. You'll have basically money handed directly to you. Or a 40% chance of getting a bad card. You have to immediately pay out whatever is on this card. However, regardless of this outcome, you get to go anywhere you want on the board for that turn to permit. So you would pick zones. You still have to pick a zone. You can't split still. But you get to choose where you want to go for that turn. And these cards are reshuffled before a person draws them every single time, so you always have the 60-40 shot. So before we continue, I do want to make a little note about currency. So your currency in the game is represented by these 5 denominations. Now, you'll notice that there are 2 5s. And why is that? Well, one of these 5s is debt. So if someone plays a card on you that you don't have enough money to to be able to pay them. You would essentially take debt out of the bank, and that player would then be paid that money from the bank. However, at the earliest possible moment, you must pay off your debt by handing your debt back to the bank as well as that much money. This is not to be confused with your environmental tracker. Anything card-wise that happens to you will be from this currency. Nothing whatsoever can affect your terawatt-hour track or your environmental track except for placing industries on the board, which means these can only go up. They can never go down. So after all players have had a chance to take their turn, the round is over and the countdown die decrements by 1. Now, in this game, purple player was going first, and we were playing to 2,400 terawatt hours. In the final round, purple took their turn and got to 1,875. Then I went, because it's clockwise rotation for turns, and when I took my turn, I was able to achieve just barely the 2,400. Once a player hits the limit, endgame is triggered, and that round will be finished. Now, because I am the second person in the turn order, purple will not get another turn. Only green and blue will to finish out the round. Now, they have a couple of options. See, I don't necessarily win in this case. If another player were to outscore me on the terawatt hours, I would not be the winner and they would instead. Or, if I am put into debt, and of course when cards are played on you, if you don't have enough currency, you could go into debt. If you're holding any of these debt counters, whenever the round is over, after you've declared that you have enough terawatt hours, you will not be able to be the winner. If nobody else has, in this case, above the 2,400 terawatt hours, then there would be another round. Otherwise, if someone else does, they in fact would be the winner. And you can actually see one of those scenarios happened here. So I was able to play and get 2,400, but then green took their turn and was able to get to 2,575. That means that I am actually not the winner. Blue then had a chance, where they weren't able to actually win, they at least had a chance to put green into debt to make sure that they wouldn't win. They weren't able to do it though, and at the end of the round, green was declared the winner. So even if you weren't the one to win, as long as a player has achieved the goal of the terawatt hours, you have thwarted the energy crisis and the world is safe to keep using energy to maintain the civilization that we've all grown to love. And so that is all there is to it with how to play Game of Energy. So if you have any questions on any of this, feel free to leave a comment. I can be found on Twitter at @energy_game. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/gameofenergy. So I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Leave a like, comment anything you want to see in the future. And I hope to see you for the Kickstarter, July 26, 2015. See you there.